Labor is exciting and it can be scary, but the more you talk about it, the less scary it becomes. Or at least that's what helped me because I knew what to expect a little bit better. If you are new here, I'm usually talking fitness for women and moms, but today we're exploring what I think is the greatest fitness challenge of all time: giving birth, specifically an unmedicated birth. I say it's a fitness challenge because I know that the training that I've put in beforehand has helped me have a more positive birth experience. If you're pregnant and learning about birth stories to prepare for your own, or just curious about what an unmedicated birth is like, we'll be going over all of the details. Also, none of this is medical advice, just my experience. Also, just a heads up, I am going over my notes just so that I don't forget anything, because I want this to be thorough and I want you guys to get the full picture of an unmedicated birth. So sit down, get comfy, because this is a real one with lots of ups and downs. So I had my baby boy about 10 months ago on a normal Wednesday. Dalinar was born in the beginning of April 2025 while I was finishing up my food science degree. But he's my first and my only. No, I'm just kidding. It changes depending on what day you ask me. Right now, he's going through a sleep regression, so don't ask me right now. No, I'm totally kidding. But he is almost 10 months old. And you might be wondering, why in the world would you want an unmedicated birth when you could just get an epidural and not feel a thing? For one, my mom had 2 bad experiences with the epidural. She ended up getting a C-section with both of my older siblings, and then she tried doing it unmedicated and liked the natural route with my brother. I figured if there's a genetic component to reacting to the epidural, I should try to avoid it as well. Plus, call me crazy, but I like challenging myself. Either way, women are strong, and all my ancestors have done it this way. So once I decided I was doing it unmedicated, there was no turning back, at least in my mind. I was absolutely determined, for better or for worse. Anyways, the beginning of the end was prepping for the big day. About a week before my due date, I had finished nesting. So the bassinet was all set up, my mom came into town for some support, and the house was as clean as could be. I finished all my school responsibilities, lots of my assignments. My capstone project was basically done. Ugh, everything except for finals. So I still had to take my finals after I had my baby, which was crazy. Anyways, a super important help was that I finished making my affirmation cards. And I knew that usually what holds me back when doing hard things is the negative voice inside my head. So I knew that I needed an extra cheerleader in my head. So at the very least, I had lots of mantras to lean into. I also made a playlist for 3 labor stages. I literally named them labor 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 was like a calm, get into the zone playlist. This had chill songs like Snow on the Beach, Drive, Dear Patience, just all my chill songs. Number 2, this one was happy music to stay positive. This was more like Paper Rings, Harry Styles songs, and Waffle House. That one's a bop. Number 3 was like more intense music, kind of like the same stuff I PR to in the gym. This is the type of music that'll wake you up and knock your socks off. And I would say that the most important part of birth prep was preparing the cervix for labor. This meant that I was doing everything I could to get it to dilate and to soften. Up to this point, I had been eating like 6 dates a day for the last month. So supposedly that's supposed to help soften the cervix by increasing the prostaglandin production. But the evidence and research on this is pretty mixed. So I did it because it couldn't really hurt, except for the fact that I don't love dates. I could only stomach them by eating half a bar of really dark chocolate with them. Like, I would like shove them in my mouth at the same time and just gag them down. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that my due date was April 6th. It definitely came and went very fast. And so at this point, I'm a couple days past due, and it's time to take matters into my own hands. So a few of these helped, some of these, who knows. But the last one helped for sure. First up, my mom bought some castor oil for me to try, And yeah, I never ended up taking it because it was definitely my last resort. The reason I didn't take it right away was because, actually, I need some more. My throat's getting dry. I got my yerba mate. Good morning, apple spice. The reason why I didn't take it right away was because I heard mixed things about it. One friend said that it worked almost instantly. Other people online said that they had terrible digestive issues after taking it. So yeah, that one I wasn't too eager on jumping onto right away. Oh, this one felt silly. Curb walking. I wish I had a video of it. So basically you step unevenly on the curb and it's like 1 foot up, 1 foot down, and you just walk uneven the whole time. Anyways, it felt like it helped. But with every step down, it felt like there was more pressure on the cervix. And I'm guessing that's what it was because it was the feeling that was similar to pressure I would feel when I'd be checked for dilation. So like, I'd be like, I don't know, it just felt kind of the same. Or like when I'd get lightning crotch. The one that I think did it was the membrane sweep. This was at the last doctor's appointment before the baby had to be out. So I was willing to do anything. If you take away anything from this video, remember that the membrane sweep is such a game changer for inducing labor. At least for me. So it was like at 11 a.m. when I went in to get the sweep. And it's pretty simple. Basically, the doctor takes their fingers, goes up, and sweeps around to detach the sac that the baby's in. And my doctor told me that it should start labor within 24 hours. And boy, was she right. It was kind of scary knowing that the ball was rolling and that labor was going to start at any hour. Oh, and a little important side note, I also didn't want to be induced by using Pitocin. Oh, I think he's awake. He shouldn't be awake this early. It's like 6. Well, Dallin is awake, so I'm gonna try and talk a little quiet because he's not supposed to be awake yet. I got up super early to do this. So, little important side note, I also didn't want to be induced by using Pitocin. Sorry, there was a loud car. It's basically a medicinal concoction that mimics hormones to get labor going. And I had heard so many stories about how this type of induction makes the contractions get very intense very quickly. And almost always these women ended up getting the epidural, even though they didn't want to. Because I watched a lot of birth story videos to get ready for this. Also, comment down below if you are pregnant and how far along you are. Let me know if you're excited or nervous and what you're the most excited or nervous about. Let's see, where was I? So I lost my mucus plug at 2 p.m. I think, sometime in the afternoon. I still wasn't expecting much because I had heard it can still take a day or two after losing your mucus plug to go into labor, but boy was I wrong. I realized it was really happening when I went on a Costco date with my mom. We stocked up on some chicken bites, some smoothie stuff, lots of salad kits, so there was plenty of easy postpartum meals. We checked out and we were enjoying pizza in the food court when I started having very distinct contractions, like every 5 to 8 minutes or so. I had so many Braxton Hicks since like week 30, so I was like, this isn't it. And I did not take it seriously at first until I realized, like, wait, these are regular and like something's actually like moving, like something's going on down there. They felt different. And then fast forward to 7 p.m. So anyways, we like run home and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna chill for the rest of the day because this is going down. So we fast forward to 7 p.m. and some friends came over for like a game night or something. And I was just like in couch potato mode. And they were so sweet. They were just distracting me while the contractions were getting a little more intense. If you're curious what contractions feel like, they're kind of like when you're working out and you've basically done like the most reps that you can do, but without the burn. So like the muscles are like contracting, if that makes any sense. I'd say it also kind of reminds me of period cramps, but like over a larger area, and it's kind of like slightly pulsating instead of just an ache, I guess, at least for me. And they get more intense than period cramps and just feel tighter, which is why I think they kind of hurt more. Anyways, at this point, which is like 8 or 9 p.m., I thought it was too easy. I was like, this is great. Since the contractions weren't getting terribly worse over like 5 hours that I was having them, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a breeze. I ended up staying up until like 10, but I did want to sleep through the contractions for as long as I could, but that was not for long. I soon realized that it was just getting started and it was gonna be so hard. That was when I woke up at around 1 a.m. Oh, he's sick. He's so sick. That was when I woke up around 1 a.m. and I could not go back to sleep. I tried laying in bed, but I was getting too uncomfortable. That's when I had Tanner light candles and fill the bath. Because I wanted it to have like a spa vibe so that it was relaxing. Because what I had heard from everyone else was that staying relaxed was the key to having an unmedicated birth. And they were definitely right. But later on, I realized that it's way harder than I thought to stay relaxed. So the bath definitely helped ease the surges, I'd call them, or the contractions. But the bath itself was too small, it was too shallow. It wasn't like a big soaking tub, so the water didn't cover my belly well. And it was not comfy to lay in. So I'd say make sure you find a tub that like actually covers your belly, like the water covers it, because it's the actual like feeling of the water covering your belly that's soothing. So I tried getting into the zone and like kind of drifting off mentally, but eventually I had Tanner timing my contractions to give me a benchmark for how far along I was, because I was getting impatient. And I stayed there until about like 2 a.m. when contractions were like 4 to 5 minutes apart. And at this point, it was hard to not be vocal during contractions. Like, some of the sounds I made were kind of crazy. But yeah, in the moment, I totally forgot about the contractions timing rule. And honestly, I still kind of forget what they recommend. So I just decided to go to the hospital when I felt ready. Okay, we're getting real with this part. If you've made it this far, please give it a like, because this is me putting it all out there, so thank you. So this is terribly gross, but as I was getting out of the tub, I all of a sudden had an urge to go, you know? Tanner was right there, and he's never gonna let me live this down. No, I'm kidding. But I also heard other ladies talking about having like a cleanse type of thing right before labor really started going down. Anyway, so Tanner hightailed it out of there, threw the bags in the car. Thankfully, they were already packed, and we got out of there. So it's now 3 a.m. when we get to the hospital. We definitely should have figured this out before, but the hospital layout was totally foreign to us. We didn't know where to go, where to check in. There were some pretty good signs to get into the hospital, but it was the middle of the night, and we were a little lost. But we pre-registered though, so that helped a lot. So we check in there, and they were such sweet nurses. Like, they were literal angels. They were so sweet. I don't remember this, but my husband told me about this afterwards. The nurse checking me in asked me, like, how are you doing? And my response was like, I'm in labor. Like, so sassy. Anyway, so she checked me in and checked my cervix, and I was dilated to a 6. Once I actually got into the room, I felt so relaxed though. I know that some people don't love the hospital vibe, but I always pictured giving birth in a hospital, so it actually made me feel safer. Just like knowing that there was medical professionals around and that they knew like what they were doing. So it just, I don't know, made me feel safer. Maybe with one of the next kids I'll do a home birth. I don't know, we'll see. Comment if you're team hospital birth or team home birth. I'm really curious. So things are officially intense, and I needed to use my game plan. These were some of my laboring techniques. For one, I tried using positive affirmations. I had them written down, and I definitely had just like a couple rolling around in my head. But I definitely didn't even look at the affirmation cards that I made. Like, come on. I still regret not using them. I ended up defaulting to just saying yes, yes, like over and over. And like every time a new contraction came, and just trying to embrace the contraction and not fight it. And I totally forgot about my music playlists, other than driving to the hospital. Next time I'm gonna have Tanner go through the list of options and offer them to me while I'm in labor, like for my game plan options, in case I'm really out of it like I was this time. But the good news is the hospital had yoga balls. These were my best friend. I probably spent like an hour rocking back and forth on the yoga ball while I sipped on my Slurpee. Oh, those Slurpees saved me. Like, it was only this or broth that they let me eat or drink. So every sip brought me new hope. Another absolute lifesaver was Tanner doing counter pressure until it got more intense. So for about an hour, he was pushing as hard as he could, like just pushing like crazy on my hips. He said that this was the longest night of his life. I don't know. Yeah, so my mom also took a shift doing counter pressure. Finally, I used a comb to squeeze. And the idea behind this is that like your brain registers the sensation of the comb on your hand before the pressure of the contractions. And I definitely tried this near the end of labor. So at this point we're at 4 a.m. and things weren't going great at all. So I don't think I mentioned yet that there were no rooms with a tub available. So my room just had a shower. So once the pain kicked up a notch, that was at like 5 a.m. I think that is when Tanner dragged all of my wireless monitoring with me. And I camped out in the shower. And it really did wonders at first. Very relaxing. But the few hours went by very slowly. And at this point, I'm still at like a 7. And it feels like progress is really slowing. Seriously, only 1 centimeter since I checked in? Like, it felt so bad for only that much. At this point, my water still hadn't broken. I thought this was a good thing because that meant that contractions are a little less intense. But spoiler, this is one of my biggest regrets, is not getting my water broken sooner. Anyways, I'm falling asleep in between contractions just to be woken up by contractions. And I remember like the dread that would come when a new contraction would take over. It wasn't so much the pain of the contractions that was hard to deal with, but it was like the sleepiness and coping with the discomfort that made it so much harder. Now it's about like 6 or 7 a.m. and my wireless monitoring system is beeping at me and it needs to be plugged in, which means no more shower. That was like the worst news of all time. So it was time to go to the bed and get through the sticking point. Things were not moving along, so I tried different positions, mostly with the peanut ball, but I completely forgot the positions that I had studied for birthing. And again, I wish I had like a doula, or that like I had coached Tanner more beforehand so that he could bring it back to my memory in the moment. It was also really hard to move when the baby was so far down, and it kind of hurt to move. Anyway, so I was stuck at like 8 centimeters for about an hour, and that's when I was done. Like, I was so ready to be done. I didn't care if it was more painful. I was like, just get this baby out of here. I don't care what I have to do. So I decided to have my water broken at this point, and that part was honestly kind of anticlimactic. Like, I was like, oh, it's broken? Really? Didn't feel any different. Not like the movies at all. But this is when things got more intense. The contractions were stronger, but it also felt like they were doing something more productive. Like something was really going on. Okay, I need more water. So I didn't know it, but at this point I was basically at a 10, with a little caveat I'll get to in a second. So this is when I started getting in my head about it lasting forever. And all the birth vlogs that I had watched said that once you start saying things like, oh, I can't do this anymore, That's when you are almost ready to push and you're like in the transition point. And at this point, I was like squeezing my comb like my life depended on it. And boy, did I feel the urge to push. Like I wanted so badly to push. Keep in mind that this is like 7 or 8 in the morning, and this is important. So I got checked, basically a 10, but just like one part wouldn't dilate all the way. So the doctor told me not to push. And from what the doctor explained, the baby's head was turned, and that for some reason was like making the dilation process harder. I got checked like 2 more times, and the baby's head was still in the same place. So I was essentially stuck at a 10 for a couple hours. Yeah, that was like, if I hadn't gotten stuck there, it would have been a breeze. So literally all I could do was just pray and hold Tanner's hand and try to go to a happy place. Also, the doctor coming in to check on me, oh my goodness, he was an angel. He was so positive, and he gave me the exact motivation I needed. My husband said that like every time the doctor would come in, I would just light up. And I think that was because like I felt more confident, and hearing him say that like, oh, you're so close, like that really hyped me up. Finally, around like 9 a.m., the doctor said I could try and push, but with a catch. He was like, okay, do a little push and I'm gonna try and turn the baby's head. And that was a little help that baby needed and I was dilated, I was ready to go. And at this point, I was wired. I knew that I was close, and it was time for the final push, or pushes. It was 10 a.m. and I was so ready to be done. So I pushed as hard as I could, which at this point, it just felt like I was doing some crazy deadlifts. I braced the exact same way. With each contraction, I would breathe in, hold my breath, and push. And this lasted no more than like 20 or 30 minutes. And my intro workout was my Slurpee. And Tanner was my hype man. This is going down as the most intense workout I've ever done. But looking back on this, I might push differently next time. I need to do more research, but I tore pretty bad, and I really don't want that to happen next time. I knew I was getting close because more nurses were coming in, they were scurrying around, and the doctor was in most of the time, but he had to keep like running in and out because there were like 2 other babies being born at like the exact same time, which was crazy. And like the ring of fire, I don't know, I had heard lots of women like talk about it, and that's like the worst part. I hardly felt it at all. I think I was just high on my adrenaline at this point. And one last push, and Tanner got so excited, even though I didn't really know that was the last push. And I did it. Little Dalinar made it. It was so surreal to have him on my chest, and it was the cutest thing. He like lifted up his head to look at me, even though he probably couldn't see me really, but now we know why he was so stubborn getting out, because he had such a strong neck and he would not turn it at all. So to boil it all down, what worked? First off, get the membrane sweep. It's a great way to kickstart labor. The tub was so nice, and the bigger the better. So if you can, get a huge tub or go to a huge tub. Another thing is counter pressure made a huge difference. Though you might need a whole team of people who are willing to do this. You never know how long labor is gonna last, and they will get tired for sure. Holding the comb felt so silly, but it really helped. Okay, baby is awake, but I'm still gonna try and finish this. A lot of women would say that they like laboring at home better, but I honestly thought that being at the hospital really helped me relax. And I think it helped knowing that I was just in good hands, and if anything did go wrong, I was right there and they could help me in any way. Another thing was having a supportive doctor. He was so encouraging and probably made the biggest difference at the end. Like, he was so positive and he was just hyping me up. Another thing is having a few mantras in my back pocket. That's what really got me through mentally. And it was really just a mental game since I was so tired. Now for the juicy stuff, what I think I'd do differently. For one, practice beforehand. Practice as much as you can. Do it like once a week or something for like the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 weeks. Try different birthing positions and counter pressure, and make it feel like a natural, like, oh yeah, we're just doing this again, like we practiced. Tanner and I practiced a little, but definitely not enough for it to come naturally when the pressure was on. Another thing is I wish I had just rested at home as soon as my due date had passed. So as soon as like April 6th rolled around, I should have just camped out on the couch, maybe gone for a couple small walks, but nothing crazy. Because I wonder if I would have been less exhausted when labor started if I had just chilled out a little bit earlier in the day. And if it were at all possible, I wish I had a room with a tub. I know that would have been a game changer. Another thing was not using my music playlists and my mantra cards was a big oops. If you're one that gets in your head super easily, I'm sure using those tools would help. Let's see. Oh, and this one, it's kind of a hot take, but I wish I got my water broken sooner. I think my labor would have progressed a lot faster, and I would have been a lot less tired by the end if I'd gotten it broken faster. Now the question is, would I do it again? I don't know. Well, this is the first time I've actually like sat down and come to terms with what happened. I think that's partly because the whole situation was pretty difficult, and to actually like sit down and like remember the pain and like the uncomfortability, the tiredness, oh my goodness. But now that I have like the mental preparation, I know what to expect, I know what to do differently, and so I think I have a little bit more confidence, and I do think I would do it again unmedicated. One thing I do want to mention is birth is amazing, and I'm grateful that it went well, but I do have to say that they don't call postpartum the 4th trimester for nothing. Like, honestly, I'm just starting to feel like myself again. So stay tuned for a postpartum update video, because if I were to do anything different, I would have prepared for the 4th trimester a little bit better. Drop a comment for what type of birth you're trying to have, and make sure to like and subscribe to see more like fitness content of before, during, and after pregnancy. And thank you so much for hanging out. I hope this was fun. And keep taking life one rep at a time, and we'll see you next time.